Hello, welcome to your first day of online exploring physical science applications, or as everyone calls it, physical science, because let's face it, that title is way too fucking long. I will be your instructor. Oops, so I already started messing things up. I just want to move this. My name is Dr. Lars Schweidenbach. Here is some base information. Of note, this PowerPoint is on Vanco Hall, so you can get this later on if you want. In general, though, there's my email address, also on Vanco Hall. There is the Zoom room, which if you're watching this live, you already found because you're here, and the YouTube page, which you really don't need a link to directly because I'll give links to everything on Vanco Hall. Quick thing, I'm going to get ahead of myself a little bit. Because we're online, everything I'm doing now is being recorded, will be posted to YouTube. However, anyone who's in class live, if you have any questions, comments, feel free to interrupt and ask them. Everyone is muted at this moment, but if you have a question, just unmute yourself, interrupt me, and ask it. I don't have your cameras in front of me, so if you're like waving at me, I will never fucking know. But feel free to unmute yourself and yell. Also, the chat in here I keep open. So if you type anything into the chat, I'll see it. And possibly not right away, depends how much attention I'm paying to on these multiple monitors, but I will try to answer questions in chat if you don't want to speak. A little bit about me, since you're going to have to hear me talk, I might as well introduce myself. As I said, my name is Dr. Lars Schweidenbach. It's a good time to point out that I don't say my own first name correctly. This is going to come up throughout the class. I do have a speech impediment. There was a physical misshapenness to my mouth, so I can't say the letter "all" correctly, as in the letter "all." So my name is pronounced as it's written, not as I say it. But that will come up that a lot of words I can't say correctly because of this. If you ever can't understand me because of my speech impediment, just ask me what the hell I'm trying to say. I will not be insulted as long as you're not a dick about it. I'm kind of used to it. I'll also say no one uses my last name because it is long and intimidating. Most people just call me Lowe's. If you don't want to be if you have a problem with being informal, you can call me Dr. Lowe's. Someone just commented that they can't heal me. Can other people heal me? Or is it just one person?
I can hear you.
You can hear
Yeah,
me?
I can hear you.
I can hear
Okay.
you.
Joseph, well, he can't hear me, so anything I say to him won't come out. Um, okay, hopefully he can figure that out. So just about me, I am a physicist by trade. I have a bachelor's and a PhD in physics. This class isn't just physics, it's a whole sorts of things mixed together. It's actually a mixture of physics and chemistry. I'll cover that more when I get there. But my background is physics. I've been teaching at SUNY Delhi since 2013. I've been doing this a while, although online, not so long. This class will be completely online. As I said in the email I sent last week, lectures will happen at the set time on class, which will be Monday and Wednesday at noon. You can watch it live on Zoom if you want, as you're doing now. If you do, once again, you can interact, you can ask questions, you can yell, you can comment, you can chat or out loud. I don't care. Once I'm done, I will post the lecture on YouTube. I do ask that if you do not come to the live lectures, make sure you watch the videos. If you don't watch the videos or come to the lectures, you're not going to learn anything. You need to go to at least one of the two forms. I will say on exams, I'm going to have those at set times. That's the only things that's going to be like, you must be on the exam at this time. Everything else can be synchronous or asynchronous. It's up to you. I'll talk about the exams more later on. I'm going to be honest. Today's going to be kind of boring bullshit syllabus stuff. We're not going to really get into much today. That's just the nature of the first class. Any questions so far? I really hate teaching to the void.
Nope.
It's so weird to talk to nothingness. Like I'm just sitting in my office and no one's around. Okay. This class isn't always
get
the
it.
easiest class. Oh, was that
I was just saying I get it.
okay. This class isn't always the easiest class. Sometimes the homework has a bit of challenging and the labs. I do offer a ton of office hours. This is a list of all of my office hours. The general idea is that if you need help, come get it. During these times, I just sit in Zoom. And so you just log into my Zoom room and I will help you as much as I can. This isn't all the times that I necessarily can offer. I have a bit more free time. In fact, on Vanco Hall, you can see my schedule and anything not filled in, except for I request not like 1 to 2 on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday so I can have lunch. I can probably hold a meeting if I don't have anything else going on. So if you need help, come to one of these office hours. And if you can't make any of those office hours, make an appointment. I'll meet with you. Don't be scared of asking for help. I want to help. Now, grade-wise, the basis of this class is exams, homework, and labs. How it works it up is exams are half your grade, homework is a quarter, and labs is a quarter. Of note, your lowest homework and your lowest lab will be dropped. That's automatically done in Vanco Hall. In fact, I'm pretty heavily use the Vanco Hall gradebook, especially since everything's online. And so at any point in time you want to know what you're doing in the class, just look on Vanco Hall in the gradebook. It will be there. Of note, this exam section is actually broken into 3 exams. Exam 1, exam 2, and the final. Exam 1 is going to be after chapter 4. Exam 2 is going to be after chapter 8, and the final is at the final when the class ends. Of note though, homework and labs are half your grade. There's really no excuse not to get really good scores on homeworks and labs. Because the thing is I'll give you help. If you are trying to do homework or labs and you're getting bad grades, come to office hours. And I will gladly sit there and work on homeworks and labs with you. Yes, through Zoom, but it's okay. I have a dot cam so I can actually display what I'm writing, which I actually should have turned on already, but I forgot. Come get help. Really, if you can get 100% on homework and labs, which there's no real reason not to, because if you're not getting 100%, means you should have got it, you could have gotten help and you didn't, and I'll talk about that more as I go. It means you only need to get a 20% on all your exams to pass this class. Come get help as needed. Now, homework is one of the big things. General idea for homework is it's on Vanco Hall. I'm going to leave that for a second. On the Vanco Hall page, there's the early stuff. The lecture notes will be right here. Each one will have a video, the link for the video of the lecture once it happens. And then under that is the homework. The homework for the entire semester is already displayed here, including when it is due. Homework is going to be due Wednesday nights at 11. There is not a homework due this week, starting next week. What it's going to be is each week I will cover a chapter. So today and Wednesday, I'll cover chapter 1. Homework for chapter 1 is due next Wednesday. Next week, I'll cover chapter 2. Homework for chapter 2 is due after that. And when you go in, basically, there's just going to be an online homework setup. Each one will have 10 pages of problems. Well, I consider it really 10 problems. Sometimes there's parts A, B, and C, like problem 4 this time, and that you have to do. General idea is on each problem you have 4 attempts. When you go in to do a problem, you can say what the answer is, put it in, hit check, and if it's not right, it'll tell you to try again. And you can go and just try again. Unless it's multiple choice. there is no points removed for the first 3 times you get a problem wrong. You can start a problem, get it wrong. Try again, get it wrong. Try again, get it wrong. And you still won't lose anything. However, if you get it wrong 2 or 3 times and you're still not getting it, come get help. Don't just keep randomly guessing. But once you put in a 4th answer, that is when it gets marked wrong. So you have 4 attempts each problem. You only submit the entire assignment once, but each individual problem 4 attempts. When you get a problem correct, a meme or a GIF will show up, so you can always tell. I'll state right now, if you ever get the meme or the GIF and it still marks it wrong, that means the number is correct, the units are wrong. Now, multiple choice, it does take off points for each wrong attempt. This is because for multiple choice, you can, here we go. For multiple choice, you could just theoretically keep guessing till you get it if I don't do that. And so on any multiple choice problem, you will lose a fraction of the point each time you get it wrong. Now, as I said before, I will drop the lowest homework assignment. It's also of note, it doesn't need to be done in one sitting. Like I can go get a problem or 2 correct, log out of this, leave that homework. That's fine. You can pick it up and start and whatnot as much as you want until it hits that due date of Wednesday night at 11. Any questions on the homework?
Got it.
Nope.
Cool. Okay. Now, if you ever have issues with the homework, just talk to me. If you think Vanco Hall messed up and it graded it wrong and you know you did it right, let me know. I wrote these problems myself. A lot of them are old exam problems, and you're going to learn I have a kind of obsession with comic book characters, as you can't tell from behind me, and video games. I sometimes mess up. So if you think it messed up, let me know. If you can't do the homework in time and you need an extension, let me know. I will say I'm much more likely to give you an extension on homework if you ask me before it is due. If you email me, they're due at 11 p.m. If you email me at 11:05 p.m. and said, hey, I need an extension on the homework, I'm going to be like, oh, ran out of time? Should have planned better. But if you email me Wednesday morning and said, there's no way I can do the homework tonight because, I'm stuck. I went off the road and got stuck in the snow somewhere. I'm looking at it snowing out my window. Then I'm probably more willing to give an extension. But if you need one, let me know. Just ahead is better. I'll also state that these problems, a lot of them are all old exam problems, or similar to old exam problems. So if you can do the homework, you're normally pretty much set to be able to handle my exams. So make sure you work on it, do it. You can work together if you want, but make sure you on your own can handle it so that you'll be able to handle the exams. And also, as I said before, it's 25% of your grade. I also highly recommend you start ahead. I will give help however I can. So once again, I have all those office hours. All of these office hours. You need help? Come to the office hours. I got a lot on Wednesday and it's due Wednesday night. I also will try to do homework help by email. If you email me a question, I will respond. I'm pretty good at responding right away. So a little bit about me is I spend most of my evenings playing video games, and normally my wife and I take turns on games. So if she's the one playing a game in the evening, I'll probably respond nearly right away. If I'm the one playing a game, it depends on how quickly I get to a spot where I can pause the game and answer. So, I won't guarantee how quickly I respond. Get your homework started ahead so that if you need help, I can get a chance to help you. If you start your homework at 10:30 p.m., and then you email me at 10:45 because it's due at 11, there's a good chance I won't get to respond in time. Start it ahead just so that if you need help, you can get it. Okay. I do respond to emails pretty fast though. As long as I have my phone on me, which sometimes I leave it in different rooms. So that's homework. As I said, you can see all of them. It tells you when they're due, but it's Wednesday at 11. Next thing I'm going to talk about is exams. You have 3 exams, including the final. This is when they are at. They are at Wednesday, March 3rd at noon, Wednesday, April 7th at noon, and the final is whatever the hell they told me it is. Wednesday at noon is when this class should be. It'll be instead of lecture those days. The exams, well, let's go back to here. They're right on Vanco Hall. Here's exam 1, spring 2021. Exam 2, spring 2021. With the times they are at right written on this. General idea is that they will open up at a set time. And what I ask you to do is, I grade heavily partial credit. I don't necessarily care that you get the right answer. I care that you could figure out the process. And so instead of typing the answers into Vanco Hall, like for the homework, I want you to work out the exams on paper, take photos of it, and upload it. That way I can give partial credit for your work. You can get a lot of points in partial credit the way I grade. And so what's going to happen is once the exam opens, you will have 65 minutes. And within 65 minutes, you need to upload the solutions. My logic for 65 is the exam is 50 minutes long. I'm giving you 50 minutes to take the exam, and I'm giving you a bonus 15 minutes that is just to give you time to take pictures and upload. I feel like 15 minutes should be plenty to do that. I will display last semester's exams. I don't have them up yet. I'm not going to bother showing them till we're closer to it, but I will display them. But it'll just, you go in here, you hit the thing. I can't open it because it's not available yet, but you look at the exam and you go. Any questions there? Oh, the
No.
final is longer.
Got it.
Got it. Okay. The final is actually going to be 2 hours and 15 minutes, but we'll talk about that when we get to the final. The exams all open notes, mostly because I can't control what the fuck you're doing, but I do want you to work by yourself. I'm going to randomize parts of the exams to make it easier for you to, or harder for you to work together. But if I start seeing identical things between people, I'm going to force you all to be on Zoom during the exams with your camera on. As of now, I don't plan on doing that, but if it's cheating, I start noticing cheating, I will. Work on your own. If I do notice identical things, I will do academic warnings, and keep in mind that if you get so many of these, you get kicked out of school and you automatically can fail a class. So don't cheat. Trust me, it's not hard to tell when you do. I wrote up a bunch of people last semester and I'm not scared of doing it again this semester. Work on your own, but feel free to use open notes.
I have a quick question.
Yep.
So we have a bunch of us have lab Monday, Wednesday, Friday until 12 o'clock.
Until 12?
Yeah.
Okay. On those 2 exam days, I mean, see if you can get out quick enough. But if not, I can probably give you guys like a 15-minute late start, a 15-minute late ending.
Okay. Sounds good.
Let me know as we get closer, which is actually my last thing here. It says, please plan around these times. If you can't do these times, let me know ahead of time. You're letting me know now, but what I would ask is if you're one of those people who have lab that ends at noon, send me an email as we approach the exams. And yeah, I'll give you I'll have you start at 12:15 and end at 1:30 instead of 12 to 1:15. I'm willing to do that.
Awesome.
But yes, if you can't make the exams, please let me know. And I will work with you and make it work. The last thing I'm grading you on, and once again, I gotta apologize. Today is syllabus bullshit. It's boring, but I want to make sure everyone's on the same page. My goal is to make sure you know what's going on, not just in the physics and the chemistry here, but like the class in general. I don't want any surprises. So I do apologize. Today sucks. It won't always suck. It's a lot better in person, but it won't always suck. The last hunk of your grade is labs. Each week, except for exam weeks, you have and this week, you have a lab due at noon on Friday. And what it is every Friday at noon in the lab section, which you can't, here it is, a few things will open up. And I say right here when they open up. So the first lab opens the 5th at noon and is due the 12th at noon. What's going to happen when the labs open up is it'll post a PowerPoint that kind of gives an explanation of what the lab is, which is something I would have shown in class if we were in person. It'll post a link to a YouTube video. The YouTube video is me doing the lab. You really should watch it because a lot of times you're going to extract data from that video. And it will open up the actual assignment. This is all you can see right now. What's going to happen is I did the labs myself and recorded them. These are the labs we would have done if we were in person. And so what I'm going to want you to do is flip through the PowerPoint, make sure you have a general idea of what's happening, watch the YouTube video, and then do the assignment. When you go into the assignment, and here, I'm going to return to my normal role. When you go into the assignment, it'll have like this background section telling you exactly what's going on, complete with any equations needed. It'll tell you the procedure, saying exactly what you have to do that day and what the process is going to be. And then it'll have data tables to fill out, places to upload graphs. I'll come back to graphs. Places you put the answers that you find, post-lab questions, spots to write conclusions. And you would just fill these out line by line. General idea, as I said, is everything's going to be Friday at noon for labs. And so this Friday, the 5th, let me go back. This Friday the 5th, a lab opens. That lab is due the 12th at noon. On the 12th at noon, the next one opens, which is due the 19th at noon. At the 19th at noon, the next one opens, and so on. And so the labs will always just be one at a time. You always will have a lab due, well, except for this week. Of note, they are due at Friday at noon, and I have office hours from 11 to 12:30 at noon. So if you want to do them right away, right when the lab opens, I'll be in Vanco Hall, and I can help if you want help right when it opens. If you can save it to the last goddamn minute, I have office hours an hour leading up to when it's due. So if you save it to the last minute, I'm at office hours then too, and I will help.
We don't have a set time for labs.
Nope, there was no set time for labs. It's just they're due. And like they're due Friday at noon, but I mean you can do it any time throughout the week. You have 1 week to do it at any time you want. So one of the few benefits of online is that there's no real time restricting. It's like the only benefit of online. That and my videos are recorded if you want to go back and rewatch things. Because honestly, online teaching sucks. I hate it. Everything is miserable. In the labs, as I said, you just fill out each section. I do always ask for a conclusion. I will always explicitly say what I want you to write in the conclusion. Fill out the data tables. Do the post-lab questions. Of note for the post-lab questions, you can either type in an answer or you could do it on paper, take a picture and upload your work. If you do that, it's usually a good idea. So I want to fix something. Because I do give partial credits. Showing your work is usually a pretty good idea because I do give partial credit. So you can get, some credit for you if you show your work. Your graphs need to be computer made. You cannot hand do your graphs. Hand-drawn graphs are useless. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Lowest lab is dropped, and I already mentioned the office hours. Of note, the lab conclusions will always ask for a source of error. These would be physical things. The only thing I do not accept for source of error is normally I messed up my math. If your source of error is I messed up your math, the answer is then go fix your math if you know you messed it up. Sources of error should be physical things that could be broken. Now, this is going to be a lot harder online because you're not doing the lab yourself. You're seeing me do it. But I'm pretty bad at doing things, so you can always blame me, I guess. Make sure your sources of error are physical things that could have gone wrong. A lot of the labs will have graphs. Graphs are a great way to extract information. The first lab, I'm going to heavily talk about how to make graphs. And the first lab is really good. The point of it is going to be making graphs. There is, yeah, graphs need to be computer made. I put a tutorial for Excel, and there's also a Google Sheets one, on how to make graphs in Excel and Google Sheets. Most of you will have this Excel 2016 or newer. I have older versions, or this Google Sheets. These videos will walk you through the process, explain how to make a graph and why a graph is useful. That and the PowerPoint for the first lab. Highly recommend looking at that and the PowerPoint on the first lab. It's going to help you because there's going to be graphs in almost every lab. Of note, I recommend Excel. Excel is easier to use. This is just kind of a for your information. I keep recommending Excel, and you're like, that's like $100 for Microsoft Office, depending what you use. Just so you know, if you don't have Microsoft Office, it's free if you're a student. And since it's like $100, I highly recommend you get Microsoft Office while you're a student, because once you're no longer a student, it's not like it just goes away. So if you don't have it, just get it because you can and it costs nothing. But Google Sheets works also. Good on labs?
Yep.
Cool. Cool. Okay, Zoom etiquette. Sure, this is a thing I have to talk about now. If you're watching this stuff on YouTube, then I don't care what the hell you're doing. It's fine. But if you're actually in Zoom, as are 29 of you right now, about 2/3 of the class, I don't care if your video is on or off. I have my video pinned because what is on my screen is what shows up in the YouTube video, and I feel weird posting a YouTube video with other people in it. So it will only show me, so I don't even see your videos. I don't care. I do ask, for the most part, you keep yourself muted, just background noise. But you are always welcome to unmute yourself whenever you want. If you have a question or you think I'm going too fast, or you just have like, hey, I have a weird comment on that. I like classes to be interactive. I hate lecturing to the void. I hate teaching online. Teaching online sucks. Feel free to interrupt me whenever you want. I don't really, as long as you're not an ass about it, I won't get offended. So please get involved. Please unmute yourself when needed. But if you're just sitting there lecturing, try to mute yourself. If you don't have yourself muted, I'm not normally going to comment or anything going on. If there's a lot of background noise coming from your mic and I just hear like, your mom yelling at you in the background for not doing dishes or something, I'll probably just, without saying anything, mute you myself. But feel free to unmute yourself whenever you want to ask questions. As I said, everything will be posted to Vanco Hall. I keep going back to Vanco Hall, but I'll do it one more time. Lecture notes will show up in this lecture notes section. They'll also be there in PDF. Underneath each lecture note will be the link to the YouTube video. Just because I post them doesn't mean you shouldn't take notes. I do recommend taking your own notes. The process of taking notes is useful for learning. But that being said, in person, it's a lot easier to tell when I'm going too fast because I can see you guys. Online, it is very, very hard for me to relegate my speed. Because to me, it just seems like I am sitting talking about stuff that I have done 5 million times before while sitting in my office staring at a computer screen. When, and not if, when I start going too fast, let me know. I will try to slow down. Now, if you're watching the videos on YouTube, obviously you can't tell me to slow down, but you're on YouTube. You can just pause the video. So you're good. Who cares? But if you're in the live lectures, you can tell me I'm going too fast. It is fine. It happens. As I said before, I do use the Vanco Hall gradebook. Make sure you check your grades. Make sure you keep up on it. If you see any mistakes, let me know. It's not very uncommon for me to make a mistake in grading. You should always, like your labs, why I take off points will be marked. You can always look at it and make sure I didn't mess up. Yeah, that's Vanco Hall. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to say in here. Yeah, exams would be right here. Last semester's exams would be here for review. Supplementary information is there to help you. Homework, lecture notes. Oh, I mentioned my office hours. You can also get help from the math. Oh, I'm going to talk about this soon, but there's also math help in Stone, New York. I'll come back to the math center in a second. This is a math-based class. It's an algebra-based course. What it is physics in general is the process of trying to use math to explain the world. Chemistry also is also a good amount of math too when we get to it. I'm going to give you equations like the one above. D equals 1/2 GT squared. What that means, we'll get there. Well, I'll tell you what it means. What it means is that's free fall. That's the distance something falls in a set amount of time. Each letter will restore to a physical term. But I'm often going to ask you to solve for things. If I say solve for D, that's easy. There you go. But I might tell you to solve for T. If I tell you to solve for T, that's going to be a little more complicated. And so if you have to solve for something like that, you need to know how to rearrange. That is why algebra is a prereq for this course. There is on Vanco Hall an algebra PowerPoint that goes through it. It is all the way at the bottom, algebra review. There's also one on solving word problems. But in general, there will be a decent amount of math. I want you to be aware from the get-go. If you're having problem with the math, come to my office hours. I will help. But you can also see the people at the math center. This says I'll give the information as soon as I get it. They sent that out to me like Friday, and I didn't update the slide this weekend because I am bad at my job. The Math Center information, if you want to get help from them, is on Vanco Hall, though. They do virtual assistant by appointment. You can make an appointment through Starfish or by emailing them. This is the email address right there. And they do appointments Monday to Thursday, 10 to 7, and Friday, 10 to 5. They can also help you with this class if you need help. Okay? So, wrapping up syllabus stuff, and then I'll do a little bit of teaching. I normally like to know why people take the class, and in the room, I have people kind of raise hands on what their majors are, but that kind of sucks to do in Zoom because, yeah, I think I might have, did I set this up? Nope, I didn't. But generally, most of you are probably one of those majors, or maybe welding. I sometimes get those too. I don't think I included that. Is there anyone here who is not applied science? Yes, and I know what your major is. Okay, yep. So, okay, so I forgot there was some education also. Because yes, I remember you. We talked last semester. I have memory. Very seldom though. Okay, I think most everyone's applied science, and there's some education majors. General idea for the applied science people, you're kind of a hands-on thing. And for the education, well, you're going to be teaching these things. My general idea is to explain how things work and why they work the way they do. It's all well and good to say, hey, I have to go wire this house, but let's talk about what electricity is. Say, hey, we need a support so this house doesn't fall over. Why does support need to be where? I'm going to try to explain how the world works. Why do things fall? What is speed? Why do things float? When you throw a football, which it's no longer right there, why do you throw a spiral? That being said, my goal is to explain life, the universe, and everything. And so if you want to know how something works and it seems related, ask. If I'm talking about something like, oh, that sounds like blah, 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 interrupt me and ask me. If I know, I'll answer. If I don't know, I'll make a educated guess that I'll be very honest that's what I'm doing, but I'll look it up and get back to you. If I have no fucking clue, I'll just tell you that. I want to help. So let me know when something's going to tie in. I'm going to try to do as many real world, well, that's a lie. I should do a lot of real world examples. I have a problem where I'm lost in fantasy though. So really most of my examples tie into movies, comic books, and video games. Because I have no grasp of reality and I haven't left my house in a year. I hate everything. But I will try to link to real world when I can. Also of note, just listening to lecture is a crappy way to learn. I'm the one giving the lectures, but I'm going to be flat out honest about that. The process of doing is better than listening. So I really recommend studying outside class. The homework is the best way to learn. Practice. Okay, that's all the syllabus bullshit. 37 minutes in. I got like 12 minutes left, so I'm going to do a little bit at the beginning of this class. But any questions about the class in general before I start covering material?
Nope.
No.
Yay. Okay. So we are in exploring physical science applications. So the first question is, what the hell does that even mean? Like, well, it's the applications of physical science, but just what is physical science? So, chapter 1, what you're in, physical science. Science in general is just a body of knowledge to explain how the world works. And science is traditionally broken into two categories, social science and natural science. And when someone says science, no one ever really thinks social science. And I love pissing off my social science instructor friends saying that. When you hear someone talking about they're going to like go into the science of something, they don't mean natural science. What natural science is using is the way to explain how the world works. But natural science itself has two categories, biological and physical. Biological is things that are alive. And basically, that's your bio courses or ecology and things like that. Physical science is the science that doesn't involve living things, because I don't want to deal with living things. I don't know if you do, but that's way past my pay grade. And that's what we'll cover. It's everything in the natural science that is not bio or bio adjacent. That means physical, chemistry, astronomy, meteorology, geology. Now, that's a lot of material. I do not have time to cover all that in this class. What I did with this class is kind of surface level 3 different classes. We are going to spend the first third of the class covering what's traditionally called Physics 1, which is mechanics, the physics of movement, of things actually moving around. The second third will be what is normally covered in Physics 2, which is optics, electricity and magnetism, and thermodynamics, heat. And the last third of the class will be the equivalent of intro chem. It's just going to be 4 weeks of chemistry. I'm not going to get into astronomy, meteorology, or geology just because literally no time. But that's what we're going to cover. Now, that being said, that is 3 different full semester classes we're doing in this class. I'm going to cover everything at a very surface level. I am not going to go deep on most any topic. If you want to go deep in any of the other topics, you're going to have to take a full-size science class. Or, just ask me and I'll explain things. But that's the general idea. Now, if we're going to be going into these sciences, mostly, once again, physics and chemistry, I have to make sure you understand how we get the information that we are using. And I am going to be teaching you a lot of things as fact. I'm going to be like, this is the equation. This is what's happening. This is what's true. But that process, saying this is what's happening, this is what's true, actually goes against what physics is on a fundamental level. Not physics, what science is on a fundamental level. Science is an evolving system that at all times we are learning more, and we are going to try to explain how the world works the best we can. And we're going to be using the same methods people have been using for a long time. In 1661, a man named Robert Boyle, eventually knighted, so I guess Sir Robert Boyle, published something called The Skeptical Chemist. And in it, he stated that theoretical speculation was worth and less supported by experimental evidence. And this is kind of the basis of the modern way of viewing science, is to guess why things happen, but it's useless without proof and testing. Everything that we're going to go through is going to be stuff that has been supported using something called the scientific method, which I am sure you have seen before. Quick side note, chapter 1, like everything I'm going to do today on Wednesday, probably everything in this chapter you've seen before. Chapter 1 is like prerequisite science skills. We'll get into real stuff. We won't do any physics till chapter 2. And it's a way to absorb the world. See, what the scientific method is it's showing how to figure out why something works. And it's often misused because people like to think of it as how we make observations. But what the scientific method is it's a process to figure out why something happens the way it does. And these are the steps. First is you make an observation. And you see, hey, this thing happens. I've dropped this, it falls. The scientific method is not to test whether or not this falls. It's to test why it fell. And your hypothesis is making something that's a guess on why it fell. That's the second step, a hypothesis. Well, a hypothesis is just a guess. Why do we think that thing fell? Not will it fall. If I let go, will it fall? That's not the hypothesis. It's why did it do it? Hypothesis is always why an observation happened. Once you do that, you test it. You create tests to test whether or not your hypothesis can be verified, whether or not your hypothesis can be proven false. You then take your tests, you look at your data, you analyze your data, and you look. And one of two things will happen. Either your hypothesis will be disproven, and you say, nope, my hypothesis is wrong. Screw that noise, new hypothesis. Or it'll be supported. Hypothesis cannot be proven true. It can only be supported, which I'll cover what I mean by that in a tiny bit. And then you can perform new experiments to further test. Now, I think always the best way to go over this is in practice. And this is kind of one of those much more crappy online than in person. So don't worry about this room. But I would like someone to make an observation about something, anything. And we're going to go through scientific method on it. So
It's not going to snow a foot.
it is. Okay. We can do. Yep. Sorry, I'm clinking into my head. That's going to be an easy one. Okay, so his observation, I'm going to edit ever so slightly. Actually, it's not snowing at all right now outside my window. But so Weather Channel said it was going to snow a foot. And his thing we want to test is that that's not going to happen. Now, it would more be the observation of it's snowing. Trying to see if I can adapt this to work real well. Yeah, I can make it work. So it's snowing right. Oh, no, it is snowing right now. I lied. It just started up again. So it is snowing right now. We are gaining snow, and the hypothesis is that the snow. See, that's more of an observation. So sorry, I am going to go back on this because you can't really. It's not saying why it's going to snow a foot. Well, no, we can say why it's not going to snow. Yeah. So he said it's not going to snow a foot. Let's figure out why, and we can make a hypothesis on why it won't snow a foot. Because the observation is it's not going to get that far. The hypothesis is why it won't do it. And I'm going to say my hypothesis why it will not snow a foot is because it's going to stop snowing before then. That's my hypothesis. The observation is it's not going to snow a foot, but the hypothesis is, but it should be why we are testing it. And so my hypothesis is it's not going to snow a foot because the snow will stop. That can be a hypothesis. That can be why I think it's going to happen. Once I do that, I can perform my experiment. And my experiment is to test this hypothesis. I'm saying I don't think it's going to keep snowing. That's my hypothesis. So I'm going to perform the experiment. Now, this is a very easy experiment to perform. All I got to do is wait and look out the window. It's actually barely an experiment, but I wait and see if it keeps snowing. And I say, okay, did it stop snowing? If it stops snowing, well, that kind of supports my hypothesis that it's not going to snow a foot. And if it keeps snowing, well, maybe it will. That can be my test. I then will collect the data. My collecting the data here is probably going to be that I just take like this ruler, go stick it into the snow and see if it's a foot. There you go. Pretty easy test. I could also go and see, is it snowing? That's not much data to really analyze here. But after that, you analyze data. And then I will check the results. Now, once again, I'm saying my hypothesis on why it's not going to snow a foot. The hypothesis is not it's going to snow a foot. My hypothesis why it's not going to snow a foot is that because it's going to stop snowing. And I check the data. Now, if it stopped, okay, I guess that was just a flurry because it did actually stop at this exact moment. There's like 2 snowflakes in the air. And I can say right now it is not snowing. That supports my hypothesis. That supports my hypothesis of it's not going to snow a foot because it's going to stop. If it kept snowing, I'd have to say, well, maybe it is going to keep snowing. I don't know. I'd have to wait, perform another experiment, or just keep watching in this case. But here's the thing. I'm saying my hypothesis is not going to snow a foot because it's going to stop snowing. And right now, at this exact moment, it has stopped snowing. But that doesn't mean it's not true. It could still snow a foot. It's not going to snow a foot today. But anyways, and here's the reason why. Is there's always more. See, I can say my hypothesis is that it's not going to snow a foot because it's going to stop snowing. But it might start again snowing in an hour. It might all of a sudden get like a huge blizzard 2 hours from now that we didn't see coming. And like all weathermen somehow failed everything. Although it is going to snow more today, probably. That's what I mean by hypothesis can never be proven correct. There's always more things you do not know. That if I say it's not going to hit a foot because it stops snowing, but if it then snows in an hour, that throws that all out the window. When you perform a hypothesis, there's nothing a correct or incorrect hypothesis. There's only a disproven hypothesis, something that happened to. If it never stopped snowing and we went over a foot, that would be a disproved hypothesis. But you can never prove a hypothesis correct. There in things in science that have been proven. It has been proven that space is not a vacuum. It is filled with something called a luminous ether. We know this isn't true, but that was an ongoing theory that every single bit of data they had put at that. And that was the working hypothesis. And people didn't. Eventually, we found that space is a vacuum, and that's not the case. They didn't, and it was because that the hypothesis could not be proven 100% true. You must always perform experiment objectively, without a desired outcome. Now, if you keep testing something over and over and over and over and over again, and your hypothesis is always supported, then it becomes something called a working hypothesis. And a working hypothesis is what people publish. One example is exposure to insoluble particles aggravates mucous membranes, eventually leading to a disease state. Basically, you cover something with grime, it can actually start causing issues. That's a working hypothesis. And a lot of things that we've tested over and over again are working hypotheses that we think is probably true, but once again, we might learn more. There used to be the working hypothesis that the smallest particle of something was an atom that can never be split. Until people learned that can be split into electrons and protons. And the working hypothesis was that electrons and protons were all fundamental particles. Until it was proven that there was such a thing as a neutron. And then it became that there's electron, proton, and neutron that can never be split. Until it got a working hypothesis that can be split into quarks. And now we realize that we can split quarks. Things can always go further. And for that way, we can never prove something as fact in science. I'm going to teach things as if they're fact. I'm going to say this is true. But that's really the working hypothesis. There might be more we don't know that could eventually change it. Now, if you test the working hypothesis enough, it'll eventually become a law or a theory, which I will cover in detail on Wednesday because it's 12:50 and I am out of time. And so we will end there. So that's today's first lecture. Barely got into things. I need to go snowblow. But that is where we are at. Unless there's any last questions before I stop recording, we will continue on Wednesday. Have a good day until then.
Have a good one.
Have a good
Have
day.
a good one.
Have a good one.
Have a nice one.
All right, take care.